Hey Soleil, welcome to Soul in the Game podcast. I'm very excited to know more. I met you in Minimal Entrepreneurs course last month, and you have a lot of variety of interests that I'm very curious to learn and know more about. So, you want to tell us about yourself to our audience?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for asking. Yes, I'm Soleil. I live in Switzerland. I'm half Swiss, half American. Um, I've lived in Switzerland for many years now. Before that, I lived in Denmark, where I went to design university and got educated as a designer. Then afterwards, I did a lot of freelance work but then also worked at agencies where I really got into like as a UX design, user experience design, and the whole design thinking methodologies, how that all works, how we can innovate in a more in a creative way and not like in a business planny kind of way where you can actually listen to people and make things that users actually or people need, humans need, and not just something that we think might work. And then during the pandemic, I started my own software company. We took on an older software that I designed like 5 years ago, and I took it on because it was a bit of a sinking ship, and I still really liked the tool, and I thought it was sad to give it up, and so I took it on, and now we're like a staff of 3 people, and we're running with it, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty different starting, I think, of a startup in this time. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind.
Wow,
Exactly.
nice. Wow, that's amazing. You have like a lot of depth in your experiences. So what does your company do? What software
so
did you? Yeah.
so it's like I think as in the States, it's a letter of recommendation, which in
Mhm.
America is something you only do for like you get from a nice job kind of situation, or like a job that like where you, I don't know, like actually I've never worked in America, so I wouldn't know. But in Switzerland, it's a mandatory thing. And
Okay.
they have to give you a letter of recommendation before you stop working. If you want to try for a new job, you normally get
Okay.
one. And then you get one when you're done working, as when you're done with that specific job. And it's a bit of a like because it's an obligatory document from the state, it has some ramifications. Like there's a lot of lawsuits over it, and as a not that many, but there are lawsuits. And I mean, it's a very cumbersome process normally, because HR has to like, oh, we have to do this now, and then have to go to the employee and ask, well, what did you actually do in your work? And then they're like, well, I did those 7 things, and then it has to go to the line manager, and she then has to be like, well, this person, they have to do like an evaluation on their competencies, and then it's just, I mean, then it has to go back to HR, and they have to control it, and normally the process takes them like from 4 to 6 hours. And we built a tool that first of all just has the whole workflow in it, and you can like all the functions have descriptions, and you have the evaluation is all in one place, so suddenly the whole thing takes like 20 minutes. And that's so really saves them a lot of time and a lot of grievance of like having to run after people, and just having like a whole workflow in one place. And yeah, that's basically what it does. Like there's some some extras and some smaller things, but that's like the main feature. And yeah, it's yeah, that's what it does.
That's awesome. So the letter of recommendation, it is like a mandatory thing in you're in Zurich, right?
In Switzerland, yeah, exactly.
So yeah. So the that it's is it only there or is it all over Europe?
So as far as it's mandatory in Switzerland. We focus on Switzerland right now,
Mm.
only because it's very specific what the state wants that is in those
Okay.
documents. And Switzerland is really special because we have 4 national languages. So companies, especially bigger companies that are all over Switzerland, will need like they have like, they need to be able to do it in multiple languages. And that's like the cool part of this tool. So someone could do it in German and in the end say like, oh, I want it in French, and just click the French button, it comes out in French. So it's like that really makes a difference. We are thinking like, yeah, maybe one day we will expand Europe wide and find other countries where it's mandatory. I know there are some others where it is. Um, but a lot of countries are like America. It's just nice jobs that have it, like, and then it's mostly a very personal thing that you get from your manager.
Right.
not
And it's
like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. We
it's
have,
pretty special
I think,
here.
we have in US, we get, it's not mandatory in US, but they do have, you can get reference.
Yep,
And in LinkedIn, you have those references, right?
yep,
Recommendations. So we just request them, and then that acts as a reference point, or yeah.
totally.
Or we can also have like email, or they can write separately, or we can give them number.
Yep,
And here companies ask for the phone number of like past three
yep.
companies you worked for. So that's a pain point though, because people may not have in contact, they may not have stayed in contact for
Especially with
very
like
long.
manager, like, people,
Yeah.
switch jobs all the time. So
Yeah.
I think that's the nice thing
Yeah.
with a written document. Like it's very like in place. Like you can go back 10 years and read something with, I mean, not that that's very accurate still, but at least you get like an idea how someone used to work and how they work now. And I mean, I really like them. I prefer them. Like when I hire people, which I haven't done a lot of, but I'm starting to having to do it. I realized like in interviews, it's very, very hard figuring out like who these people are with like one interview. I mean, everybody can be anybody for an hour, right? It's like, I mean, of course you have like a feeling with someone, but it's now even online, it gets even harder to really, I don't know, like to really get to know someone. And then I read a book called Talking to Strangers. Do you know it? From who is it? I'm so bad with names sometimes.
No, I don't know that book.
I'll find the author later. He's pretty famous. And he just like his quintessence is a little bit like it's hard to talk to. It's hard to talk, and it's like talking to strangers is very like you can't really tell who they are anyway. And I kind of feel like having these work certificates gives you like someone wrote that from someone who they worked with for 2 or 3 years, and if you know how to read them because they have a bit their own language, then you can also decipher very well like how that person actually was. And like if something's mentioned over and over again over a couple of certificate or like letters of recommendation, then you're suddenly like, I'm sure that person is really like that because different people mentioned that. So that's really, and it's not as generic. You get a lot more specific, which I also like. It's like, because I mean, most people are good people. Most people like want to do good in the world. It's very few people who want
Correct.
to screw you over. It's not really.
Yeah. Right, right, right. It's
Malcolm
Malcolm
Gladwell. Thank
Gladwell.
you. That was the name.
Gladwell.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Good. I'll check that book out.
I liked it.
Yeah, I did take a look at your website, and I love the design. It's so capturing, like captivating. And
Thank you very much.
I loved your video as well in that. And is it called
Skriba.
Script?
Skriba. Yeah, so it
Skriba.
comes from transcribing
And
something. So like I took the name of like transcribing, and then like there's an old German word that is skribent, which is like the person who transcribes for you. And then I thought like Skriba is like the modern version of a skribent because the tool writes for you, right? So it's
uh-huh. Skriba.
exactly.
Like I like saying that word, Skriba. I'm using some way of pronunciation which I have not used.
Very cool.
And I feel good about saying, like, using that way of saying, like, Skriba.
I think that's something that can be tough with this, with like Swiss German. Like we use a lot of very harsh tones, like the hard K, and then we have like very soft other, and then we mix them together, and it's, I think the harsh, like it's like spiky and then very soft.
Right. Yeah, yeah. What's that word we were talking about earlier? The
Hochigashli.
um tongue twister?
Hochigashli.
Ho he hush
It's really
hushly.
good. I'm actually very impressed. Maybe I have to find a harder one.
And that means, okay, sure, go ahead.
A lot of the tongue twisters are like like pepper, 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 pepper. That one, the American one. There's lots of those. Let me
Yes,
think.
yes.
Maybe Swiss German is not. Maybe for you it's very easy because you can do the in your throat. I think if you can't, or you
Yeah,
can roll
that
your R's, then if you can do those two things, I think you're in the clear.
yes. Yeah. Yeah, in my language, my mother tongue
Which
is
is,
rolling R
yeah,
is very important. Like I think in the basic, like when we are babies, like we taught to like do the sound, so it trains like we are using
Yeah.
that muscle. And kha is more
Yeah.
Arabic. Kha is like
Yeah.
khan, kha. We don't say ka,
Mm-hmm.
like just ka is in the
Mm-hmm.
mouth, but kha is coming
Yeah.
from here, from the throat.
It's really, I always tell people like just act like you have like a throat in your like a frog in your throat. You're just like and you'll get it. When I used to live in Denmark, I didn't speak Swiss German like very often. When I got back and would talk like a whole day, my throat would always hurt so bad. It was always
Oh, that there are more sounds from the throat.
yeah. All
Okay.
the
Wow. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, let's go about something that really I'm interested about your interest, that is plants. And I see a lot behind you already in plants.
yeah, we have like
How did you get into your planting?
how did I get into it? So Mike, so it started, I think, with my mom's mother, my grandma. she she is a huge plant person too, and they live like in a, or like they used to live like in a small house, but it's also like lots of plants and big garden. And I always loved that. Like she has like every Tuesday morning and every Friday morning, she just waters the plants and looks after the plants. And that's like a fixed thing. Like you can't do anything with my grandma on those days. It's like, nope, I'm watching the plants. So I always, that was like kind of with me, and my mom also loved plants. And then I really got into it maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. I really just, I guess it's a bit of a hoarding situation, but a very charming hoarding situation. So it's okay. My
Is it?
boyfriend has since then like very clearly stated that we have enough plants. We currently have, I think,
How many do you have?
140 indoor plants, 148, I
Oh
think
my
it is.
goodness.
And then outside
Wow.
plants, we have like 30. So we have a terrace. It's like a big balcony. So no garden, sadly, city life. But and that's like outside. We also have like 30, and like it's much more in the summer. But yeah, so yeah, that's lots of plants, but a lot of like I have a lot of little succulents. So I count them separately, but I mean they're kind of together in one place. So
That's awesome. So do you follow the same routine as your grandmother, like water Tuesday, Thursday?
so my boyfriend waters the plants.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really great. So I
You've
buy them
outsourced
and he
that
takes
work.
care of them. It's a really good deal. It's like I buy them and he takes care of them. It's really, really a good deal. It started with, because he already had a lot of plants when we moved in together 4 years ago. Like we both watered the plants because we never really talked about it, and we did it asynchronously. And then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were both like, suddenly we're like, two plants died from being overwatered, and we're like, why did this plant overwater? Like it's a cactus. I never give this plant water. And my boyfriend was like, well, I give it water once a week. And I'm like, you're giving water? So yeah, so we figured that out. And then I don't know, like it just like he's very he's so sweet about it. He really is very yeah, he's really good with the plants. So he, like, I take care of them. Like I pot them, I look that they're in the right spot, I pick off the like the old leaves, and I just take care of them that way, and he waters them. So
That's
that's
awesome.
yeah, it's a really nice deal.
Nice deal. Yeah, very nice deal. So you said you have 130 plants inside?
148, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But again,
Wow.
lots of little pots. Little pots are also, so it doesn't, I don't know, I think it just goes very quickly. And I mean, I also make a lot of babies, which I then just like, I don't like, I don't know, like as I'm trying to live as minimalistically as possible, I don't really like buying people presents that I'm not 100% sure of that they'll need. So I love giving them plants. I think it's such a wonderful thing to give people plants
Yeah.
for when they,
Yeah.
when they have a baby or when it's their
Yeah.
birthday or whatever. So I make a lot of baby plants, and then I give those as presents.
That's so good. I do the same thing as well.
Cool.
I plants and the pothos. Is that the one behind you? Pothos in the or is,
Yeah, there's a pothos hanging.
yeah.
There's a, exactly, that's that one really, yeah, that makes a lot of, you can easily make babies from that one. It's a
Yeah,
really
yeah.
special one. There's a couple of ones here. This one, it's normally outside, but it's in the winter we take it in. the papyrus.
Papyrus.
This
Okay.
one. That one is yeah, that also makes a lot of babies, and people
Oh,
really like
really?
those.
Okay. Do you have this fiddle fig leaf? Fiddle
I
leaf.
do not have a fiddle fig. I don't really like them. I don't know why.
Oh,
I really like I like monsteras, and I like some of the popular plants, but the fiddle leaf fig, it just never, I don't know, it's too round, and I don't know, somehow it never really doesn't float my
and
boat.
it's yeah, and it's tropical, right? More, it needs a lot
Yeah.
of humidity.
Yeah.
I'm in Arizona in the desert, and there's so less humid
Yeah.
here. I have a fiddle leaf fig plant, and it's right next to me right now, and it's so pathetic looking, poor thing. I brought in like a separate humidifier for it, and I started putting. It's not it just gave up, and then
Oh, that's
finally
so
I thought,
good.
okay, I totally killed it, and then I was still putting the humidifier, and then I see like small bud coming
I
out
mean, yeah. Oh.
and it's coming back to life, but I'm having a hard time taking care of that. I have no idea how to care for that plant.
With the what do you call it in English? In German they call it Gummibaum.
Okay.
They really like it. They really like it humid, and if they're when they're sprouting, you can put a little bit of like plastic foil over the pot, because then the humidity kind of stays with it. Maybe the fiddle leaf would,
Oh,
maybe you could check that out. Maybe that would work there too. Like that has worked for a couple of plants I've had that just
okay.
always struggled and didn't really make it. Just protect them when they're like kind of
Yeah,
keep them moist.
that's a good idea. I'll try
Maybe
that.
that would work.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
I
in the
have
wrong
a
place, obviously, for
yeah,
this plant.
that's but I feel you on the dryness. We live in a minergy. Maybe you have that too. It's like a, I don't know, it's a heating standard. Like the houses, like they you don't have any radiators or like um anything that would create warmth in your apartment. They pump warm air into your apartment
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
through
uh-huh.
the whole building, and it's very dry air. It's
Oh,
incredibly dry. So I feel you on the dryness factor. Like I lost a couple of plants, like all the tropical plants, like it's just a no. Like the calatheas, like I have one big one here, and it's just all the edges are brown, and I've really
yeah.
tried everything to keep, but it's like it's just when it's so dry, it's hard to keep these tropical plants. So I've given up with a few, and then some survive, and then I just keep them as long as they're they're
Yeah.
fighting.
Right, right. Yeah.
But I really
I
like,
have
I have a lot of cacti now. I have so many cactuses.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You like
they
cacti,
love
is
it.
it? Okay.
Um,
You should come here. We have like a
yes.
whole mountain full of
Yes.
saguaro cactus. So yeah.
Yeah, I once did a road trip from New York to San Francisco, and we drove through Arizona, and it was like, and yeah, and New Mexico and Texas, and it was just like all the cacti. I was like, oh, I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just
I
like,
was gonna ask because I see you use that emoticon, cactus
yeah,
emoticon. It's like, I wonder why. And now I know you love cactus. So
yeah. I
nice.
just think they're the perfect plant. They're like, I'm really pretty, and I'm just gonna stand here, and if I'm just like, don't fuck with me. I really like them. I don't really know why, but I think they're just the perfect plant. And then they give
Yeah.
like these pretty little flowers, like once blue moon, whenever they feel like it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
I
You
think
know,
it's a
there are a plant called jumping cholla here. Have you heard of them?
no. That
So
sounds
it's called,
amazing.
yeah, it's a teddy bear cactus. You can look it up later on.
Mhm.
It's also called teddy bear cactus because it's like it looks very fluffy, and it looks like you can cuddle them like really good, but they create the small pods, and then they come and attach to your skin, and they kind of go inside and then hurt you. They're really
Oh,
bad.
shit. Oh my God, but they look so pretty. They're
They look so
so
pretty.
cute. Oh my God. And then they're just nasty little boogers. I love that.
Yeah,
That's just
yep,
great.
yep.
That's amazing. Yeah, the
I
desert
first
is
Yeah, when we moved to Arizona, I was like so much in love with them. I got like when we went hiking, I saw pods like fallen. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just get them and then put it in my garden and then grow like this choyas. They look so pretty, and I brought them and I put it in like one of the entryway. And one of our when a gardener came in to do this thing, he was like, don't you put this here, this is really bad, it's gonna hurt people, and it was already growing like tall. So we just had to get rid of that as quickly as possible after knowing what it was. Yeah.
It's like a real good tourist trap. Like, oh, poison ivy, it looks so pretty. Why is it called
Yes.
that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's oof. I think I've seen it once in a movie or something. There was a shtick about like those balls, like that they got rid of one and then they were like right next into someone else's leg, and it was just like back and forth.
Yeah, and apparently Native Americans here, when they were like they go around a lot, they use them as a weapon to
Yeah,
it pretty good weapon.
it's like a hand grenade if I have ever heard one.
Yeah. Yeah, useful for people nomads who are trying to protect themselves, so it's very,
It's
very
really smart.
yeah.
It's really very, very cool. I love cactus. Just great plants.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, just make sure to come here.
exactly
I'll take you around all the cactus. They're like yeah, hundreds and thousands of them here. um
amazing. And also that they're like such big trees. Like the biggest one I have is like probably as tall as me. And it's like almost as tall as me. And it's like, I mean, it's still like a baby cat. I mean, like it's of course it's like 10 years old, but it's still like a baby cactus. And like if you think about like the like if you see pictures of these huge cactus, like that are like as big as like huge trees, so cool.
yeah. Yeah, they're amazing, they're awesome, and they're hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Yeah.
They've been there, and it's illegal here to cut down a saguaro cactus.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's not just your plants, right? You're also into snowboarding and horse riding. So is that only summer thing, horse riding and snowboarding
No,
with
that's all year long.
all year long?
Also by bad weather. Yeah, that's
Okay.
such a nice thing. Like, you know, like you're working on a computer all day long, and most people are. And it's just such a, I mean, like horses just have no, like they're so in a different world, and it's so real and raw, and you're just very in it, like, and you get dirty and you get wet and you're cold, and it's physically very hard, and it's mentally, or like you just have to be in such a different place mentally, because you have to like, horses are big animals, and they'll, you know, they you kind of need to like, but yeah, I've been around horses like since I was really small, so it's a big
You own
part
a
of, huh?
you own a horse?
No,
You have
no, I can't afford that. It's just so expensive. In
makes a
Switzerland,
lot.
it's
Yeah.
everything in Switzerland is expensive, but like horses are very expensive. And I always felt like if you own a horse, like you have to be like, you have to know that you can afford it for the next many years. And me being like so entrepreneurish, I like to just like, I'll just put my entire life savings in this new company and try this. So that doesn't really go too great with having too many responsibilities. No, but so I
Yeah.
have I guess you would call like a half lease. You would call that, like the owner, like I pay her a certain amount every month, and then I can go 3 times a week. So that's like almost like owning a horse, but
I
with a lot less responsibility.
Yeah, I think you're in the wrong place. You should come to Arizona. There are more horses here.
it's, it's really, I mean, like,
Wild, wild west.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's like the sad part. Like it's like if you, yeah, I mean, like at some point you decide where you're going to live and where you're going to build everything, and then when it's built, it's harder to move than when you were younger. Like and
Yes,
when I was
yes,
young, I was I mean, I'm
yes.
sure like you're an expat as well, right? I mean, how long have you been in America now?
Um, this is my 11th year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gets, I mean, like, could you imagine going back to India? I mean,
I mean, I go back as a
mhm.
visitor now. I
Yeah,
visit my
exactly.
parents, but I don't know if I would want to. I may want to live there. It keeps
Mhm.
changing. Depends on
Sure.
like the season or the mood I'm in. But my husband and I talk about what we do later on as we are like when we maybe in 60s or yeah, we want to live. We have like few places we want to go and live. So one of
Very
them
nice.
is in a couple of places in India.
Mhm.
and or South America. So we don't know where we will be at that time, but yeah, we may or we may not. um, but it's just the nostalgic memories that you want to go back and relive those, which never gonna happen, because that's we are not
Yeah,
in that
that's
time or mindset anymore. So yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's always sad that we
right.
can't go back in time. That
Yeah,
would be
here the Mustangs are very popular. The
yes.
beautiful and
Yeah, beautiful horses.
yeah, yeah.
It's also cool. I mean, you still have some wild horses, which is also really special. And I mean, there's like how it's handled is not the greatest, but I
Yes.
mean, it's yeah, that's always very sad. Like, especially like coming from a place where wild animals are basically extinct. Like we don't like Switzerland tolerates like no bears, no wolves. It's just really, or like we do on paper, but not really. Farmers are
Mm,
also allowed to get rid of them however they want, and it's very sad that we humans can't make space for wild animals. Like just makes no sense to me because of what? Because of cattle? Like could we not? Like it's just
yeah,
terrible. Makes
I
me
know.
very sad
Yeah, yeah.
that
Your
there's no.
your lifestyle is vegan, right? You're vegan, or
Mhm,
yeah. How long have you
exactly.
been?
So I was born in a vegan family. So my dad's a vegan
Oh,
for like
wow.
30, what now? 35 plus years. My mom was a vegetarian from child on and became a vegan when she met my dad. And then when they separated, she became a vegetarian again in Switzerland. It's like I don't know. It's like I think it was a little harder to be a vegan like 30 years ago in Switzerland was a little hard.
Uh-huh.
But then my dad was always a vegan. So I mean, I grew up a couple of years as a vegetarian, but like mostly vegan. So then when I was
Mm.
like 19, I think I really did like the final, okay, I'm a vegan now and that's it. So it's been a couple of years.
Wow. Is it easy to find foods that are vegan there? Do you create your own food, or is it already available? How is it?
It's changed a lot over the years. I mean, when I remember like when I was like 8, I think the first vegan cheese came on the market, and my dad, like we lived in Denmark then, and my dad like ordered it from the States, and it was like a hockey puck. We always said it was really hard and not that good.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
it's really changed. I mean, like I mean, it's just really over the years, and it always depends where you are. Like in the cities, it's
Mm,
always been pretty easy. Like I remember vegan restaurants when I was a kid, like that already existed. But so it's really just growing. And in Switzerland, the market has completely exploded in the like 8 years, 7 years since I've been here now. Like it's just
mm,
gone completely. Like there was barely tofu at the supermarkets, and now they have like everything. Like they have like lox out of carrots. They have all sorts of seitan stuff. They have
yeah.
cashew cheese. And they know that like they just see
There's
it
a
as such a
market.
huge market,
Mm, mm.
especially with I think Generation Z. It's huge, so I think they really see it as a that they kind of have to
Yeah,
cater to that market.
I've, I was talking to somebody who's an agriculture
Mm,
exporter in India, and he was saying the biggest market is not US for organic or plant-based foods. It's more Europe and Switzerland and
oh
France.
wow,
Yeah, that
yeah,
was yeah, it was surprising to me.
that's very surprising. Yeah, that we would be like bigger in that sense.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's really, I mean, it's kind of incredible. Like I can go hiking in the mountains, and the mountain restaurant will probably have a vegan option, which they didn't have 5 years ago. Like that just wasn't a
Right,
thing, and now they
right.
actually have options. So I, in a sense, like it becomes easier and easier. But in the heart of hearts, like I think a lot of people, like some people see it as a food diet, and then it's like a plant-based thing, and then those people also make exceptions, and they're not really strict about it. But if you do it for the animals, like which is like the core basis of this, like are you against treating animals in that way, or are you for treating animals in that way? And if you're against it, like then it's easy anyway, because everything else doesn't appeal to you anyway. So it becomes
True.
very easy. It becomes
Yeah, it's the
very
more,
easy, and
yeah,
then
yeah. The philosophy is very strong, and I know many of my friends who are vegans, and they
mhm,
when they grew up in vegetarian household,
mhm,
and as an adult changing to vegan diet is
cool, very
extremely
cool.
challenging. But
Uh,
what goes back, what just drives them is the love for the animals, and
exactly.
how they're being not having how they're being treated in the society is not, they don't accept that. They're like, I don't want it, I'm not gonna participate in it, so I'm gonna be vegan and I'll stay
Yeah.
and I'm happy there. And that's good. That's awesome. Good to know.
I mean, it's like I don't know, like for me it has like a lot of like there's a lot, couple of different layers to it, where it's really like, I mean, obviously, like, I mean, it's, I don't know, in Switzerland there's like, I mean, there's still a lot of sexism, which most places in the world, there's still a lot of racism, and there's still like, I don't know, I feel like speciesism is kind of like the root, like it's kind of at the bottom of it all. Like
Yeah.
it's like, it's first of all, you're like, oh, they're less than us, so we can do it to them, and then they're, most of them, like males, we just kill them anyway, and then females, we just treat them horribly until we kill them. Like it's, and it's a complete disrespect for, like, and it's such a lack of and it's a lot of things,
Yeah.
but like for me it's like these things all build on top of each other, and like the
Yes.
basis of it is like that we even, that we take it out, that we say like we're better than, and then when that thinking starts, when do you stop it? Like it becomes like a very diffuse issue, and like right now, like it's, and then like that's why I think it's hard for people to really like check their biases and check their own opinions, because there is such a gray blurry line, and being vegan is really easy then, because it becomes very black and white. It's like, it's wrong, so I'm not doing it, and it's like, it's a lot, I feel it's a very, so actually I feel it's a very easy lifestyle, because
I
it's
like that.
very
Yeah, I mean, you're not really, you're taking responsibility rather than blaming somebody, right? I'm gonna be like this. I like that, because it's, you're not blaming someone. Okay, I mean, you're blaming the whole society because we are bullied, but you're not like pointing one person, okay, because of your. And how do you find it? Like, do people, because there are like there is some, veganism is seen like too extreme or too much. How do you get that? Like, do people come and tell you like, how can we, you do it, you
Definitely,
get it?
definitely.
Um,
I mean, I mean, I get that a lot. Like people say that, or maybe not as much as they used to. But like, for me, it's always like, it's so funny. Like, how can it be radical to not treat someone horribly? How can it be radical to not kill? Like, I can go pick my own carrots. Like, there's no, like, I have no ethical dilemma with taking a carrot out of the ground. But most people couldn't kill their own cows, or most people couldn't like take a baby away from a mother. Like that's heart wrenching. Like if you've seen that once, like it's hard, and it's gut wrenching. And it's like, if
yeah.
you, unless you're completely desensitized, which that's like the other part. Like there's so many humans that work in this industry that suffer immensely. I mean, it's like, I think like slaughterhouse workers have like the highest suicide rate all over the world. And there's a reason for that. Like that's
Oh,
not
I didn't
like,
know that.
it's I mean, just imagine you have to kill 200 living
Yeah.
beings in one day. I mean, that's going to take its toll on you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's like when someone says something like that, I'm always like, well, really think about what you just asked, because like, what is radical here? Like, raising an animal and, pumping it full with antibiotics and like doing all this, even in nice places, pretty horrendous stuff. And then killing it, and then, or picking a carrot and eating a carrot. Like, what's really a radical part here?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, the more you think about it, the more it's like makes you feel so. I mean, you have to want to take
Yeah,
the control back, and you can decide how you're gonna
very.
live. So that's
And I mean, I always say like vegans have to be, they kind of have to be able to say fuck you to people. It's really
yes,
like a
yeah,
base thing. Like you have to be like, no, I'm against this. And I mean, I don't know. It's my dad and me. I mean, he obviously has a lifelong, as a very old school vegan. He has very strong opinions, and
oh,
they get
okay,
stronger over time. He's very like, he's very strong about his opinions there. And I mean, for him, it's like, I mean, I think he's completely right there. It's like, good positive change never happens by itself, right? I mean, it's so easy to take advantage of, yeah, if it's humans or animals that are seen as less than. And as long as you think that way, that's like it's always so crazy to me. I mean, I'm pretty active in a lot of feminist groups, and I'm so like weirded out that they'll eat cheese and stuff. I'm like, this is suffering from like a lot of female cows. Like, how is this okay? And it's like so funny how, but that's like I mean, just putting it in a box and not thinking about it, right? I mean, it's easier that way.
I think it's you saw that in your dad, and then you resonate that so well because you know that. And if we don't grow up with some model like that, it is hard for people
Very hard.
to connect like that, and
Totally.
empathetically, compassionately, because you see your dad getting frustrated, or why he's getting frustrated, and then
Sure.
versus somebody on the TV randomly, and you just see that
Sure.
context, you can't really connect to that. So maybe the culture of that is what missing. And of course, you have to eat a lot of meat in order to be more strong or healthier. That's the agenda that's being pushed for many years.
And
um,
yeah.
I'm quite active on Twitter, and
Hmm.
especially with the fitness groups, and I see the like controversial
Yeah.
statements there as
There's
well.
like two camps. They're like
Yes.
protein, and like that you need to eat clean, and yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah. I'm I'm vegetarian. I'm
Mhm.
also like 90% vegan. I don't say I'm vegan because I 10% I consume like
Mhm.
yogurt and ghee they make from
Mhm. Yeah,
butter fat, so I
yeah.
consume those too, not every day, on occasions.
But
So
ghee is a staple of Indian cooking. Like that's it's
yeah,
like every
yeah, I mean, I'm slowly I think it's I'm either I do it or don't do it. I did it for
Mhm.
like I think almost 1.5 years, and then something happened, and then I was like, oh, maybe because I'm doing this, because of this it's that connection. And then I broke it, and I was like, oh, I felt so bad. Oh, I should have continued, because I was very, very strong at that point. So I'm and talking to you kind of inspires, like whenever I talk to people who have like very emotionally charged, and you were sharing your passion. That's what your passion is. So yeah, I think
Very
it's I like that. Thank you for
well.
sharing that
Thank
energy.
you so much for asking. Thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I always feel like it's it's kind of like I don't know, it's a really fundamental thing in a way. Like
Mm,
it really goes down to like who you are as a person. And
yeah.
I always feel like, I mean, like for most people, just like reducing is such a huge thing. I mean, the whole like and that's nobody has to switch from day one to another. It's and finding alternatives that work for you, because food is hard. Food is like that's tradition and it's family and it's like,
Yeah.
and for a lot of people it's a very central thing in their life, right? Like it's very hard to get around that and like figure that out, like how that works. And for me it's definitely been easier because yeah, half of my family was vegan, so I think that's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
easier. Like I've
And
had
there is miscommunication on the media, like, oh, your brain gets foggy, or you will have low energy. And when somebody is trying to do the change and they read that, they'll start connecting, oh, I'm feeling foggy right now,
yeah,
so maybe because I'm doing this diet, and they go back. It's very easy to give up at that point.
totally.
um, but I think having this energy of passion, of the intent of why I'm doing this, is more important than all those, because this a body is adjusting. When we make the shift anyway, the body
Yeah,
adjusts. And yeah, it's a whole different
totally, exactly,
conversation.
exactly. Yeah.
Totally.
We can do part two.
Yes, yeah, part two. Yeah, let's come back to your
Yes.
project. I want to learn more on design thinking, right? You mentioned
Mhm.
about the so I'm into waste diversion.
Mhm.
And one of the quotes in that, it's about waste is a design flaw. So
Mhm.
the flow wasn't properly designed, so that's why we think everything is like linear. Okay, we take something, use it, and then throw away. It's not circular. Okay, it goes back and
Exactly.
we reuse it. um, what's a good framework that you would recommend somebody who's not trained in as a design thinking?
Mhm.
What would be the framework that they can apply, or like a few steps that they can apply when they're thinking of something, product? Let's
Mhm.
take my example, like the waste thing, right? How can I convince people to apply this design thinking?
So
It's
I mean, it's actually pretty, so because design thinking is kind of like a landscape of lots of different methods, but it's kind of like put into steps of like where you do need finding, where you like figure out problems. So like, for example, like that, so with like plastic, it's pretty interesting, right? Because the problem is kind of the end of the circle of plastic. And then you would normally have the problem that like we have a shit ton of waste. So that would be like in the first, like, so we have this problem of like, oh, there's all this waste. And then normally you go into ideation, or where you first you look at like, so what else has been done. I think a common misconception that happen, or like that's like a societal misconception, is that ideas need to be completely new, and it's very few things are completely new. Most things are like, oh, I'll take this and this and this and smash them together, and now they're that. Like it's like mostly it's a very good idea to look what's already out there, how are other people solving this problem, and then through that you do an ideation, and then you I'm doing this out of my head, so I hope I'm doing this correctly. It's always so very generally, then you try to doing this in a team mostly. That's also always very different, but like mostly would be in a team. I like to talk to people, like in all the steps, like actual people who have these issues. I find it very hard to just do it on my own assumptions, because then I don't have anything to measure it up against. So I'm always like a big speaker of like, let's just talk to a lot of people about this, not a lot, but like enough people about this that we have a full picture. And then you do the ideation. Then normally you show this to a couple of people, and you don't try to sell them or convince them. You really just like, so what do you think this does? Like, what do you think this will do? What will this do for you? And then they will actually tell you. And sometimes they come up with a better idea than you had, which is also always really fun. Or sometimes they'll actually tell, like you'll keep hearing this, like your solution, which is you never even told them your solution, or you just hear it from them because you gave them the basis of like, so this is the problem, like what do you think would this be? And then you normally iterate on that. So then you test it. So if it's sometimes like I've been like, prototypes can be anything, right? So I've done theater, I've done like being like, I'm like a big mobile phone that talks to you, I'm a robot that talks to you, or I'm a website. And like you test the idea like very specifically, where you then figure out like, hey, is this working, this solution? And then you just iterate on that. Like that's kind of like how the normal process would go, and then you produce it. And it's, I mean, the idea of like the design thinking is that you always kind of you circle back constantly. Like you do something, you test it, and then you make it, and then you do something, and then you just go around. And a really good framework that, I mean, I think for people who don't have a design, like no training in design, is the Google Sprint, the design sprint. It picks like, I feel like the book is like, the first half of the book is basically just telling you what it does, and then the other half is a real, like it's a play by play, like completely like, then you do this, then you do that, then you do this. And it's, I mean, it can feel a little bit like it's just for like, if you want to do like web experiences, but you can really do it for anything. And I think it gives like, because it's in a 5-day, it's like 5 days, and you just like, you really, and you kind of have to stick to that framework then, and not like piece it out, like really do the 5 days. I think it's like 7 hours a day or something. And it really, like that really works. Like I've done a bunch of design sprints with a lot of beginners, and we always walked out with a, like we've proved this idea, this will work, and then we can start working. And that's, and iterating, of course, but like so there's a couple of frameworks like that. And it really depends like which phase you want to get into. Like some people already have a product, and then they have to like, but it's not working, then you kind of do like, then you like go maybe to like phase 3, and you open up that, like, and then you take like 7 methods from there, and you do those over 3 days. Or you're like right at the beginning, you can also do that in 3 days, and really do like a deep, like, so how are people handling this? And you really go deep into like figuring out what's the consumer behavior, or what's the user behavior, and then you like iterate on. So it's like, it's always very specific. I would recommend, if you do a process, that you get like, I mean, just having someone like at least from the sidelines telling you a little bit, like, because I mean, obviously like someone who has experience it's a lot easier, just be like, oh, just do this, and then you should be fine. Like that's a little easier than figure it out completely by yourself. But I do feel it's a very, I think everybody can be creative, whatever that means, but everybody can be a creator or a content creator. And or like being able to do stuff, and everybody has something to share with this world. So I really like that design thinking is a real enabler. It really helps people to open up. And I mean, I've followed people who were like it did a cool innovation project with like one of the big supermarket chains in Switzerland, and it was like a guy who worked on the cash register who was part of the course, and he had an idea, and it was like that you could do online testing of furniture, so that someone in the store would test the furniture for you, so you didn't have to go and look at the sofa in person. And this was way before Corona, right? And I mean, they liked it, so it went on and went on, and now he's like leading a team of like 40 people, and it's like and then now they're like operating, and that's like his baby, right? And it's like you see people who've really like design thinking can really open up innovation, can really open up doors for a lot of people, and I like that it's accessible for everyone. I really like that too. That really, like, anybody can, you just have to be motivated and
yeah.
wanna.
Is that something that we already know, but we don't think it's design thinking, you think? Or is it something we need to get trained in? What's the yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of, so if you look at kids, how they solve problems, like I always feel like a kid when I solve problems. Like you really just try to get rid of your everything you already think you know, take that step back and really just like, let's just try again from start. And you go through all the different options, and mostly it's like option 3. And it's like, if you would have put your knowledge to things, sometimes like you would have just disregarded it because of like, this is not possible because we have, I don't know, like there's a implication somewhere, and then you wouldn't do that. And so I feel like it's I think it's, yeah, I think everybody can get to it, but like they have to. Sorry, my boyfriend just came home, so I was a little distracted. Oh, really?
No worries.
I don't know if that answers the question at all.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you. Yeah, we are I think we are almost time as well. I don't want to take
Maybe we can
up
do 5
your
more
time.
minutes just so we don't like have an abrupt ending. That's no problem.
Yeah, sure. So, but thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm curious about design thinking, and I think I started a course on Coursera, and obviously I didn't finish it. But
It was
whenever
longer than 3
I
days.
think I was like, oh, I should. What?
It was longer than 3 days, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I have to go, and but I love the concept. I love not knowing everything, like not having oh, I know about this, it won't work, that kind of programming, and then removing that and then actually trying it out. So that's good. We are almost wrapping up, and I think I I really liked all the things we covered today, talked about, and I know you more now. I feel so good that knowing you more personally, as in your interests and plants and diet, and yeah, just love for cactus. So
But thank you so
yeah, I
much.
hope you come to Arizona so I can take you around.
I would love that. I
Yeah.
really loved the all the
Sure.
desert states.
Yes. Yeah. So anything else you want to share, or if people want to see your work, is your work public, like all any design work that public people want to, listeners want to come and check out?
It's a good. So I do have a portfolio. I haven't updated it in a while because I've been so busy with Skriba.
Sure. Yeah.
But so yeah,
I
there's
mean, I can put.
Skriba.
Yeah.
But so my private one is alien.ch.
Okay.
So that's like my portfolio from when I used to be a agency designer, when I when I still did only that. There's very little design facilitation on there because that's always hard to document, so that's not really on there. But my visual design stuff is definitely on there.
Okay.
But yeah, that's awesome. But thank you so much for having me. It's very it's always really fun because normally I ask all the questions and I don't really get to blab much myself. I sometimes do anyway, but
it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, I look forward to know more, like how you grow your company and Skriba.
Exactly. Yeah, we should let's do a follow-up like in 6 months or so and see how it goes by then.
Yes, sure. Yeah, let's
That
do
would be
that.
very cool.